For the first time recently, I actually started doing creative writing classes, and throughout my writing career so far, I've mostly been in the realm of non-fiction. I wrote a PhD thesis that was about 100,000 words. I wrote a book with my brother that was a non-fiction book on relationships. I've written many articles and blogs and all that sort of thing. But I've always had creative writing as a passion, as a hobby. When I was about 16, I think I really wanted to get into serious literature and started reading F. Scott Fitzgerald and Hemingway and all those sort of classic writers. And that was the time when I started to think, man, I'd really love to try my hand at writing fiction like this someday. And it was something I always noodled with through university and through my 20s, but with novels, I always had fits and starts where I would get like a bundle of things, ideas on the page or random scenes, but they would never coalesce into something that felt like it had shape. And that was often because I was just kind of trying to imitate something else I had seen before, or I was trying to write about things that maybe I didn't really know that much about. And probably I just needed to live a bit more, to have a bit more experience, to actually have things to write about. So, I would always get to this mass though, and I knew there was something just wrong in the way I was going about it, because I would just kind of get to this blob of scenes, and then it would just kind of all feel insubstantial, and there'd be no thrust to the story, and that was the thing that was always missing. And one of the things these writing classes has been helping me sharpen is figuring out, just if you've got a protagonist, what need they have, what's the deep need that they're trying to meet or something they desperately want, and what's the thing in the way. And then just thinking about where would you like them to be by the end of the book or the story. If you're writing a short story, you can think of it that way as well. And I think what that does is it stops you getting so hung up on the mechanics of plot all the time and trying to, because I'm not one of these people who can plan everything ahead to the end. When I write, I have to discover things as I'm writing. I have to figure it out as I go along. And so, but it helps me to just have an idea of the emotional arc I'm trying to get to. And if I can think like that, then it's easier for me to think scene by scene, what needs to happen now for that emotional arc to be pushed forward. Maybe there needs to be some moment where there's a terrible choice right now, or where two things are in conflict, or someone's stopping him, or whatever it might be. What's the thing that's stopping your character from getting to the end of that emotional arc, and what trials do they have to go through? So that's something that's really been helping me. There's a book that even recently just read called The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. This was a very big novel in the UK. Kazuo Ishiguro is very big, probably worldwide now. He won a Nobel Prize, so he is big worldwide, but very big in Britain. And this book's about a butler, and who is a very restrained character. All those kind of archetypes of a butler, a man of duty, service, a life dedicated to this identity and restraint and decorum. And there's, spoiler alert for this novel, it's like 20 years old, so, But there's a moment in this novel that's really heart-wrenching where his name's Stevens, and he is having to serve his master, this lord, and all his aristocratic friends who are in this smoke-filled room and being very pompous and boisterous, and he's having to kind of wait on them and do, it's a dinner rush, and he's got to make sure they've got everything they want and all their drinks filled up and all this stuff. And at the same time, the worst thing possible is going on a few rooms down, where his dad, who was also a butler, is mortally ill and is literally in the last minutes of his life, and it might be his only chance to ever speak to his father again before he dies. And he is still in this room having to put on a good face and chuckle at these, inane jokes and kind of sit there and be his butler dutiful self, while his heart is breaking apart at the same time because of what's happening. But he's having to shield all of that in, and the tension there that creates and the way Ishiguro stretches it out, that's what makes you root for a character and hooks you completely into the scene. So you're completely dialed in into what's the resolution going to be. Is it going to be that he makes the choice to leave his duty, or is it that he's going to make the heartbreaking choice of staying in his butler identity and not going to see his father in those last moments of his life? And just thinking of those tensions, like what are the, conflicts within your character's soul that are pulling them two ways, and the obstacles that are stopping them. That's what helps me motor a story along and gives you a way to build scene by scene to help propel them through the story. Even if you haven't figured out what the beats are yet or where you're going, I find this a really useful device just to pull out, okay, how is this going to be, this scene, how is it going to hook someone in? So it's not just another scene happening of stuff, but how is it pulling on those tensions, even just a little bit, or propelling your character to where they want to go. So give it a try, and give old Ishiguro a try. I hear it's his best one, and it's definitely my favourite one of his I've read so far, so I recommend that, The Remains of the Day. It's a subtle novel, it's very much a study of a character. It's not action-packed, but it's a very beautiful, evocative, really crisply written prose as well. Just very straight, clean, well-structured prose. Definitely can learn a lot from it. The Remains of the Day. Alright, see you soon.